We're going to try something called Make Your Case. I've got Louis Riddick standing by, and Louis Riddick, it has been his job in the past and may someday be again to make huge decisions at draft time. Jalen Rose, we all know you're a crazy fan of the Detroit Lions. You have something you want them to do. I want you to make your case to Louis, and let's see what he thinks.
Lou, you do a terrific job. I can't wait till you get a gig back in the NFL. And if you were running my Detroit Lions and I drove down Woodward in downtown Detroit, I would say to you, Tua's the guy that can bring us a parade. I was born in 1973. My squad has won one playoff game in the last 60 years. One playoff game in the last 60 years. And let me tell you some of the people, and a couple of these guys work for our networks. There's no shots, no shade, that I've seen play quarterback under center. Bobby Lane was before my time. He was in the 1950s. That was our greatest quarterback. Our next one is Matthew Stafford. Okay, in between that time, Eric Hipple, Gary Danielson, Craig, an older Dante Culpepper, my brother Dan Orlowski, Rodney Peete, Chuck Ware, Rodney Peete. I could go on and on and on and on. Okay, Louis, the most important position in football is quarterback. I've heard you say this. Why don't we redshirt Tua, let Matthew Stafford pay his last bid to Detroit, allow him to groom Tua, trade him, because eventually when we do a big move, it's going to be with the Patriots anyway. Our front office is in lockstep with them. What is the third pick of Matthew Stafford? We're going to eventually do a big deal with them. Imagine we redshirt Tua, trade them Matthew Stafford at the end of this year, and Tua becomes our quarterback the year after, and we get our parade in downtown Detroit eventually.
Okay, he's made his case. Louis Riddick, what do you think?
Well, first of all, let me just say this. I know you think that they're going to make a trade with the New England Patriots, but I'll tell you this. If they don't win this year, that front office ain't going to be making a trade with anybody because they're going to be out of work. All right, so all right, that's number one. Number two, let's just put it this way. Since Matthew Stafford was drafted in 2009, let's just start in 2011. You understand, Jalen, they haven't put very much around this young man at all. From 2011 to 2018. Let's just say, and excluding 2018, you know Matthew Stafford threw for 4,000 yards, over 4,000 yards every single season. In 2011, he threw for 5,000 yards. So he basically has carried this football team on his own with no help. You understand this too. They had no running game during this entire time. This is a team that's been in the bottom quarter of the league rushing the football because they just put it all on Matthew Stafford, on his shoulders, and he delivered now. He's been a top 10 quarterback the entire time he's been in the National Football League. What has happened, though, is everything around him has been absolutely average to below average to mediocre. It's been subpar. He's gotten no help. No quarterback can transcend mediocrity when it's surrounding him. As Greg Williams, one of the people who I respect in this league, and some people, you can say whatever you want about Greg Williams, he told me this, and this has always stuck with me. Players can't win in spite of. They have to win because of. It's very hard to win in spite of, and Matthew Stafford has had to try and win and succeed in spite of dysfunction around him his entire football career. Now, finally, they started investing in the offensive line. They drafted Kerryon Johnson. He needs to stay healthy. They become a little bit more balanced. They've done some decent things on the defensive side of the football, but it hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been good enough. The people around Matthew have failed him. Matthew hasn't failed Detroit. The people around Matthew have failed Detroit. And I'll tell you this, when you're talking about 2020, Tua Tagovailoa, if you redshirt him, he isn't going to save this franchise. They're going to wipe that whole place out because they need impact right now. So I'll tell you this. If they draft Tua, they're drafting him for a totally different regime. You're still going to have to wait this year.
What do you think, Jay?
Correct. And as somebody that's been supporting this team since 1973, that's my point. Matthew Stafford deserves to go to a better situation where he can actually get a Super Bowl within the next 3 to 5 years. I'm trying to save Matthew Stafford because I agree with you, all of the points that you made. He's been amazing for us. I'm happy for Big Play Slay. He gets a chance to go to Philadelphia. He got saved. Okay? Bring in a new regime headed by Louis Riddick. Draft Tua this year, and then now you can build around Tua a couple of years from now, Lou.
I have to leave it there. I think you made a very eloquent case, Jalen. As usual, you managed to argue both sides extraordinarily well. Louis, thank you. We will see you. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.